We're older than the country. We're older than the Diocese of Long Island. I mean, that's a tremendous gift, to say that we are this old. And in fact, it was so interesting when I was even talking to the bishop. Our bishop is fairly new, Bishop Lawrence Provenzano, and I said, "Well, Bishop, we're having our 310th anniversary." He kept saying 110th. I said, "No, Bishop, 310 years." And he started smiling. He's like, "Oh my God." He said, I knew you were old. I didn't realize that you were that old." The church, especially in the African American tradition and community, has been the repository of not only just the spiritual, but the educational, the political, the cultural dimensions of the community. It is the church where many people would come, often to deal with some of the issues of the community, and I'm thinking of, in particular, someone like a Dr. Martin Luther King, who was able to take the broader context of the church into the life of the community by trying to bring forth the role of justice and righteousness within the life of the community. And I believe that's where the church should be and where the church should go. So the church has a modicum of roles to play in the life of the community. And I believe that it's not just within the walls of this building.
The church is not this building, and that we are part of a much wider ministry.
We're mindful of Jesus' statement to us that you shall be witnesses unto Judea, Samaria, and the outermost parts of the world. So it's not just about what we do in these four walls, but it's how we extend ourselves to the larger community. Because, frankly, if there were no walls, you would still have the church, because you have people. And wherever people are, that's where the church is. I believe that the Grace Church has been able to survive 310 years of ministry because of how it has had an impact in the life of the community here in the city of Jamaica. I believe that you cannot talk about Grace Church without talking about the evolution of Jamaica, nor the development of this community. It's been a place where people could come to not only to pray, but to to kind of find their spiritual ground of nature as the city has evolved.
Rufus King is one of the 5 framers of the Constitution, and he was an active member of this congregation. One of the younger members to go to Philadelphia for the writing of the Constitution. He represented, if you look at the signing of the Constitution, look to Massachusetts and you'll see the name Rufus King. Rufus and Mary King were really an important team and very active members in this congregation. Rufus' stand against the Missouri Compromise, February 11th, 1820, which was quoted by Abraham Lincoln 40 years later. He didn't have much to say about Washington or Jefferson, but he said, "Senator King, there's the shining light." And we will now pick up on what he said 40 years ago, February 11th, 1820. He's the last of the founding fathers still holding public office. There are slaveholders on that Senate floor. And he says, "Mr. President," and he knows he's going to lose this battle, incidentally. He's just going to stand up and let us know a thing or two as to what we're doing. 33 years after we've signed a constitution on freedom, we're expanding slavery. Enough already, Mr. President. I have yet to learn that one man can make a slave of another. And if one man cannot do so, no number of individuals can have any better right to do it. And I hold that all laws and compacts imposing any such condition upon any human being are absolutely void, because, contrary to the law of nature, which is the law of God, by which he makes his way known to man and is paramount to all human control. He served as United States Senator from all three United States capitals, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. And so they and the kids and everything were very active here at Grace.
This building that we're currently sitting in is 150 years old. This is actually the third building that Grace Church has had.
There was the early one that the Kings, when they joined the congregation, that was the building that was there. They realized they needed a new building, and the second building is what Rufus King and Mary were responsible for. That burned down 1861, New Year's Day. And the son John, he followed in his mom and dad's footsteps. John Elsop King, while he was a member of this church, he served in the Congress 30 years after the Missouri Compromise. He took as strong of a stand against slavery as his dad had.
And also he was one who really helped put forth and develop the campaign for erecting this building that we're in, which turns 150 years old this year.
It's quite a story of the King family, generations worth, and their attachment to Grace Church.
This has been a place where historically some of the people who have made great strides in the life of the church. The first bishop of the American Church, Samuel Seabury, actually being the rector of this parish, and then the second bishop who has come out of this church is the Right Reverend Herbert Thompson Jr. And I believe that both of those men, who became very well known in the life of the church, their legacy is indelibly printed within the context of the community here, because they extended themselves to the larger community.
Is historic in terms of its manner of reaching out into the community, and if there are needs that you know of that we are not fulfilling, there's a listening ear here.
One thing that Jesus always did, he told his disciples, his comment was, "Feed the people." Jesus had it right, because when you feed the people, you're not only feeding their bodies, but you're feeding their minds and you're feeding their spirits. Table fellowship. What more could you do? I mean, think about when we go to a dinner and you're invited to someone's house for dinner, and the sense of camaraderie and the sense of fellowship which exists there. And what we do is that we try to share aspects of that camaraderie and fellowship with those who are indigent, those who are sometimes the faceless, the voiceless people of the community, those people who can't always speak for themselves, those people who cannot always provide for themselves. And so this is just one way of sharing the face of Christ. When they come, they know that they're going to be fed. That just maybe just for this 1 hour, they're going to have food to eat, and they're going to have a sense of at least being able to be in community. Because that's what most of us long for. We long for community. We long to be together. The reality is that when God created us, He didn't create us to be alone. He created us to be in community. And one of the ways that we find ourselves extending that community that God gives us is through the ministry of feeding. They come here to find that they're not going to be just a face or a number, but that they're going to be authentically counted as a human being because they're being fed and they're being cared for. And so this is once again an extension of what the church does, and it has engaged other people to join us as partners in giving items and resources, some human and some in terms of food and commodities to the church. And it's been a really great opportunity to share in this ministry. It's phenomenal to me how the soup kitchen has been. The soup kitchen is about 20 years old, and once again how it has survived without what most people think you'd have to have. Most people think that you have to have, federal dollars, you have to have state money, you have to have all these resources, money. But I believe it's the concept of this. There's a song that says, "Little becomes much when you put it in God's hands." And so when you put something in God's hands and He opens His hands, it just multiplies. It just grows and germinates and develops. And it's really the work and the hand of God. And that's who we are at Grace Church. We're extension of God's hands. And that image is a powerful one, if you think about it. That God's hands are so great, so awesome, so large, so vast, that it just does tremendous things in the life and in our community, and it really it helps to feed the people. It not only helps the people who come from the community who really dine in our soup kitchen, but it helps the people who work in the soup kitchen as well. About a year ago, I was introduced to the principal of one of the high schools in the community at Hillcrest High School. And so anyway, I was just sharing with him some of the things that we do and ways in which we could possibly have the young people to connect with the church. And so what he did was that he had one of the deans to bring some young people who needed community service hours, learning service hours to the church. And they were just coming for Thanksgiving. So they collected, canned goods, they collected items, and they brought it to the church. And they came to church with the intention of coming for that one occasion. And when the young people finished that particular day, they said, "We'll be back next week." And it's just it's just amazing how they saw something not only in the people, but they saw something in themselves. So what it's done is it's help young people to see that there is value in serving. There's leadership in serving. They realize that volunteer work and community service, it counts volumes, especially as they are looking at going to college or to university, and as they are looking at the careers and world of work, because it's giving them that foundation. So it says a lot about not just the fact that that you're giving, but I think what happens is that they realize that the people that they're serving are giving to them, that they're gaining something from what they see and what they're experiencing, and so that there's a sense of being fulfilled from the service that they render.
Note that even though there are old gravestones in the yard, which tells of our history, There are the living plants and flowers, which let you know that we are very much alive.
This church is on Jamaica Avenue. It's in the hub of the commercial center of Queens. And often we have people who have come from the courts. There are people I've met who have come from court, who have were dealing with child protection issues and that kind of thing. And they've come here, and I've met people who are weeping and crying. And what I want people to know is that when you come into this church, you can leave your burdens here. And when you go out, you are just, you're renewed.
There is a saying that has been developed that grace is a place, and where all good people can come together to work for God. And so we welcome everybody who comes, and offer them an opportunity to offer their skills and gifts in the mission and ministry of the church.
I feel that a part of being the larger church is that not only just serving the people who are in our church, but how do we serve the people who are outside of our church? And how do we make them feel a sense of comfort of being here in this church? So it's like maintaining what we have as far as our history and our traditions, but also inculcating new aspects of ministry and bringing people into the life of our who are in our community to make them a part of our church.
I think it's a matter of being aware of the past and knowing that in order to have the future live up to that glorious past, that we have to keep moving. That it is now in our hands, and what do we do about that?
Grace is a place where people can come and feel valued, where they can feel a sense of engagement, and they can feel as though that they are participating in some aspect of a spiritual walk and journey.
Well, I think it's pretty special.